It's a mean world out there. And it's a meaner age.
Let's change the culture. Let's change the way we think about this world. And let's have a hell of a time doing it. Welcome to Mean Age Daydream, a home for comedy, a home for some politics, and a daydream of a world that doesn't suck. I'm Brian McWilliams. Welcome to this mad world. What is happening, guys? Welcome to Mean Age Daydream. If you haven't heard the last episode, yes, this is the new show, Mean Age Daydream. A little bit more comedy here, a little bit broader focus. You're not going to be quite as angry, but don't worry, I still got plenty of things to yell about, be pissed off about. One of the things I'm not mad about, is that Ryan Long's going to be joining me in just a little bit. But because I recorded about a week earlier with Ryan, I did want to tack on a couple little news takes and also some breaking news. The breaking news is that you can go right now to the show notes for this very episode and get tickets for the porch tour for the one and the only Robbie the Fire Bernstein to come here, yes, to my domicile where I live with my family. So, don't fuck around. I will shoot you. I do have guns. But you can get tickets coming out. He's doing his porch tour here. Robbie's going to do a show, full stand-up set. I'm going to do about 10, 15 minutes of comedy as well. And then we're going to do a live podcast together after the show. Come on out. Have some drinks. Come meet me. Come meet Robbie. Come meet a bunch of cool people. It's going to be a fun as hell time. Come on out for that. And if you missed the episode with Robbie last week, go back, listen to that shit as well. Now, Ryan Long's going to join me. Of course, Ryan's amazing. If you don't know, he's got a new special out called White Immigrant. He's got his YouTube channel is brilliant. It's got everything from his sketch comedy to his stand-up clips to his man on the street segments, which are fantastic. So make sure to go there. And of course, those are in the show notes as well. But I wanted to talk a little bit on the show about another comedian. 3 comics on the top of the show, and that's Gilbert Gottfried. Right? Rest in peace, Gilbert Gottfried. Apparently, he died of a muscular disease. Now, the curious thing about Gilbert Gottfried here is that he had died, it says he was 67. He died from a rare genetic muscle disease that can trigger a dangerously abnormal heartbeat. You know what else triggers dangerously abnormal heartbeats? The COVID VAX. Yeah. A lot of that going around. A lot of abnormal heartbeats going around. As I said, I've told you guys many times now, I have a elevated heart rate and irregular heartbeat ever since I got the shots. There was just a major Australian broadcaster talking about how one of the rugby players had to come out of the game because he was having heart issues. And talking about how all through sport, this is happening. This is a fact. Pfizer now has come out and admitted that, yes, there are a ton of people going into the hospital because of heart-related issues from this poison that was forced upon us. I don't know for sure if Gilbert Gottfried had gotten his shots and his boosters. I would think he probably had. I mean, I don't know Gilbert Gottfried to be hugely anti-vax. I don't think that he is an exceptionally libertarian person. I'm sure he has some bents that are and some that aren't. But I would gamble that he was probably fully vaxxed and boosted again. And it's just interesting to see that he ends up dying from a condition which I guess he had already had, but I can't think is wholly unrelated. Now, this is just me spouting, right? I don't know for sure, but I'm just saying it's a little odd. But I did want to talk about Gilbert just in general because, guys, if you're not familiar with Gilbert Gottfried, shame on you. He's a guy that impacted me growing up. He was on Comedy Central back when Comedy Central was actually funny and had comedy on it rather than just woke bullshit. He was one of the guys that was regularly featured on all the shows that I'd watch with my dad. Like, I have fond memories sitting down, and we didn't have Comedy Central at home, right? Until we got the little black box. You remember the little black box that you plugged in, the secret box that like the cable guy would install, or you could get it off like the dark web at the time, whatever that was, like the back of some guy's car. So we would go to vacation in North Carolina, where Odie is right now. And the house we vacation at had Comedy Central. And my dad and I would sit and we'd watch, and it was old school stand-up with Gilbert Gottfried, and it was the Kids in the Hall back when they were young and beautiful, and they're actually coming back. I'm scared to watch the show, though, because I'm scared it's going to be a bunch of woke trash. But still, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because they were also genius. But seeing Gilbert Gottfried, most people want to think that he was just the voice, because that's what his most memorable trait was. But what should be the most memorable trait from Gilbert Gottfried was that he was genius when it came to crafting jokes, when it came to punchlines. He had a very vulgar mind, which I respect and love, and he was able to get away with because of the voice. Right? Maybe this is why he adopted the affectation. Because of the voice, able to get away with saying some really crude humor that the voice diffused. They made it palatable for audiences because it wasn't coming from just a guy. It was coming from this squinty-eyed monster on stage, you know? That was the genius of his character. But I want you guys to make sure to separate the voice from the man and the voice from the comedy, because Gilbert was in his own right a genius. Now, one of the things that you probably have forgotten, or maybe some of you don't even remember to begin with, depending on how old you are, is that Gilbert Gottfried was also one of the first people to ever be canceled. Famously voiced the Aflac duck. Aflac, you know? And I'm sure he got paid out money when they fired him. The reason they fired him was because he made a joke after the big tsunami in Japan. Now, I can't remember the exact joke he told. Maybe I'll try to look it up real quick, but I won't be able to do it justice. But he had gotten fired because he made a very off-kilter joke. Tsunami. And it was within days from when the wave hit Japan, right? So, what happens? And this is the early part of time, right, before cancel culture was huge. He was, like I said, he was one of the first against the wall, essentially, when this broke. But, fuck you, New York Post. These fucking cocksuckers. They didn't even post the joke. Well, whatever. You can Google it on your own time. I'm not going to do it here. Point being, it was really like the first volley of cancel culture. Like, I was shocked to hear he got fired for making a joke. It seems so insanely stupid to me. So out of left field to go, he's not known. Look, the number of people that know he's the Aflac duck is probably 10%. The people that know him for being a raunchy, say anything for the laugh comedian is probably 50%. And yet you're going to can the guy because he made a joke. How about you just ask him to take it down? But no, cancel culture was starting to come into its own. Cancel culture was growing tits, everybody. It took off its training bra and it put on a D cup. And Gilbert Gottfried got that motorboating from the cancel culture right up front there, right? And that took out Gilbert Gottfried. But that being said, I do want to give respect to the man just for being who he was. And I hope all of you will go back and watch some Gilbert Gottfried comedy. Now, next thing I want to talk about real quick is just, I think it's hilarious that the Gretchen Whitmer thing, that all four of these guys got off. It's genius to see, right, that these government spooks, the FBI creates, excuse me, sorry, my daughter was sick all week, and I'm hoping it's allergies, because we had this crazy, like, 98-degree day or 2 days, and then it dropped down like 68, and the winds are howling, so I'm hoping it's just pollen and allergies, and I'm not going to get sick, but my daughter was sick a week, so we'll see. I'm not feeling great, but this Gretchen Whitmer thing, the Gretchen Whitmer 4 that supposedly plotted to kidnap her and all this other shit. Well, they just got off, right? Dismissed. Because the judge basically pointed out that this is blatant entrapment, blatantly unconstitutional. And that these gentlemen were basically convinced by the FBI, heralded across, and all the thresholds that they had to, basically, that wouldn't be able to pass without government help, right? Obtaining weapons, obtaining logistics, planning all this shit. There's no way the government could do that, or these guys could do it without government assistance. Not only that, but the amount of surveillance, drones and planes and all this for these 4 yahoos in Michigan, right, on a federal level, had to go all the way up to the top. So the question is, of course, who planned this? Who knew about it? When it is clearly designed to create a boogeyman. And I hope that's what people wake up to. That this is how the FBI, this is how the government operates. They need to create a quote-unquote false flag. They need to create a monster. They need to create a domestic boogeyman to justify their actions. It happens time and time again. We've seen it with the war on terror, right? These poor people that got, just like these guys, the FBI finds them online. They go to them. They coach them up. They befriend them. They give them everything they need. They goad them on. And then when they get to a certain point, they arrest them. Unfortunately, most of the people before these 4 domestic white Americans happen to be people that were not domestic white Americans, right? They were either sons of infidels, or they were people that were cavorting with ISIS, like the things that we could tie into foreign terrorism. that wasn't just your homegrown, corn-fed Americans, but these gentlemen were. Maybe that makes a difference. Maybe it doesn't. I think it does personally, because you couldn't say, well, look at the great evil overseas. Look at the great Satan over there that's been blowing people up and chopping people's heads off and, raping little boys. I'm sorry. Those are the people that we fund that are raping little boys. But point being, when you've got 4 domestic white guys that were roped into, goaded along, and convinced to do this thing and aided every step of the way, well, the outcome's a little bit different. Maybe they had better lawyers. Maybe they had, just the public outcry was more vociferous. I don't know. But the point is, I'm glad to see this happen. And I'm glad to see that most people hopefully will see this as exposing the government, not for the people that hunt the boogeymen, but for the boogeymen themselves. The government is the monster that is hiding in your closet, right? The government is the guy breathing heavy on the other side of the phone, quite literally listening into what you're doing. The government is the demon on the other side of your screen, staring at you all the time. They are the monster under the bed. And they have no qualms with sacrificing your life to achieve their aims. In this case, to forward along the cause of domestic extremism, right? Because they want to push that into people's heads as the new thing that has to be combated, so they can forward surveillance, so they can forward laws limiting what you can do, what you can buy, your guns, all that kind of stuff. Oh, my throat. And, of course, it was to combat COVID and the lockdowns, because they said that this was in response to the COVID lockdowns. Now, the goal of this is to create a division between Americans, where you have some Americans that say, I'm for these guys, right? They'll say, I'm for these guys because these COVID lockdowns are unconstitutional, which they are. They're life-ruining, which they are. This is government run amok, which it was. And they say, I'm for whatever. But you also have Americans that even though their lives were destroyed, even though their children had 2 years taken away from them, even though there's learning disabilities and heart defects and everything else spreading throughout the population, well, they go, oh, well, these guys, look at this COVID lockdowns. You can't just be a psychopath and kidnap people. You can't just go around blowing shit up because of COVID lockdowns. That's crazy. That's what the government wants. They want to have somebody they can paint as crazy to oppose the lockdowns, so the rest of the people go, well, I'm not going to do that. And then they just become complacent sheep. I'm not saying those are the only 2 options, but I'm saying that's what the government wants you to do. That is the messaging that they're trying to achieve. That's the end goal of what they're trying to achieve. That is the master plan. Okay, last things. And also, it's just one of those things where, like, I've talked about this before, and I can't remember exactly with who. Maybe it's with Ryan later, because I'm recording this about a week after we did our show with Ryan. Recorded about a week ago. But America's lost a healthy sense of skepticism. There was a time, at least I think there was a time, when any piece of news that would come across, you go, well, let me think about that, right? I'm not just going to take it and retweet it immediately. I'm going to read it. I'm going to digest it. I'm going to cross-check it with other sources. I'm going to make sure I know what the fuck I'm talking about. That time has fallen to the wayside. But this might encourage people to take a minute, right? Walk up to that lens, whatever you're looking at, see if there's some Vaseline on that camera lens, man. See if there's a little bit of film, of a veneer on there that you can scratch away with your fingernail, right? Because what you're seeing just isn't reality. You've seen, Brian Stetler hilariously was taken to task by like a college freshman who just, laid out straight that CNN's been calling Fox all these things, and CNN's complicit in the Trump lie, Russiagate, COVID. God, he named like 4 or 5 of these different scandals. Nick Sandman, all these other things that were just nonsense that CNN. Oh, the Hunter Biden laptop. But I think a lot of people are waking up and they're going to start smudging that lens, right? Make sure that what they're seeing is the accurate description, that they're not being shown a lie or something that's been completely crafted to impact them a specific way. And a great example of that is this Don't Say Gay bill, right? The Don't Say Gay bill, I won't talk about it at length, but it was supposed to be like this thing which is an assault on trans rights and gay rights. And, oh, you can't even talk about gay people. You can't even acknowledge that gay people exist or that trans exist. No, that's not what it is at fucking all. It's that you can't teach, you can't talk about specifically trans ideology or changing genders or identifying as this or that, or, it's like until you're out of third grade. I don't have a problem with that. I think, and actually from polling, the vast majority of people, including Democrats, don't have a problem with that. But you see these psychopaths pushing this nonsense through to try to paint it as a great evil because they have an agenda. They're trying to push it through. But anyway, it inspired me. Those of you that may not know, I used to do a lot of songs on the show. I need to get back to doing that because this is Mean Age Daydream, God damn it, and this show is about entertainment. So I've composed a little ditty. Hopefully I can sing it and drink some more water because my throat's not feeling great. Hopefully you recognize the song. And let me share my screen here. This is a little ditty by Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney. And the original song is called Say, Say, Say. But of course, mine's going to be a little bit different. So here we go. Let's get into it. Don't say gay is what they say, but it doesn't hold up upon reflection. Wank, wank, wank. Spill that seed chasing blue check marks. Affection. Florida does. Disney princess hoes are protected babies. Babies. Through third grade. No more trays or raids. Just paper mache. You know I'm ooh, 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 yeah. Oh, my throat. Now do what you want, just leave kids until they're older, teachers pass. Don't need lady boys on trap, keep a folders. What can I do so to get through to you? They're only babies, babies. Standing here, LGBT and queer. Just wait a couple years, you know I'm crying. Ooh, 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 hee hee. Oh my God. Oh, all right, enough of that. Enough of that. Go to Odyssey, by the way. I'm sure YouTube will maybe cut that out because it's going to be copywritten. You know what's funny is actually I fucked up. I recorded that song. So that was even worse. I recorded pretty well the first time I went through doing this. And then I realized that when I popped my earbuds in to not have the audio track it picked up on the microphone, it cut my fucking microphone out. So I had to redo this whole shit all over again. And my voice is much worse now than it was earlier. But whatever. I figured it's funnier. I'd record it and I'd record it and I'd do it nice in GarageBand and I can record different segments to make it sound real good. But I figured it's funnier just to do it. So here we go. There it is. It's terrible. Terrible. But I hope you got a kick out of it. Anyway, that's it. On to the interview. All right, so I'm here as promised with Ryan Long returning to the show. Of course, the first time you were on it, you probably don't remember, I had a different title. It used to be called Electric Liberty Land.
But we were doing it on like we were doing it over the phone, right?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You had just moved to New York City.
Yeah, and I was like trying to do it in a place and you're like, the sound's bad, and then we found a new place. Dude, I'd probably been in New York for a week and I just found like a place. I was like subletting this weird like room in this house for like a week. It was like trying to do an interview. Yeah, it was a weird time.
I have seen my buddy. So I've been in New York a bunch. My sister lives in now Queens, but my buddy used to live literally in a closet. I mean, it was, you open the door and it was, 6 feet wide, 8 feet long closet. And I've never seen anywhere but New York City that rents rooms like that. It's just
people do these bizarre living situations here where it's just like 9 people living and they took sheets to turn rooms into 4 rooms.
It's like a Chinese massage parlor where you're just trying not to hear the guy next to you come. You know, you're just like, all right, just focus on the music.
That's a big Asian landlord move.
Totally.
Slicing it up.
Yeah, slice and dice. You have to literally walk over people to get to the bathroom. But yeah, man, I know it was funny, and but it was great having you on. And obviously, I'm glad you came back on. Now you have a lot to talk about. You've got a new special which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
And I want to get into that because I thought it was absolutely hilarious.
Oh,
But
thanks, man.
oh, dude, no, it's killer, and it's good to see. Well, I guess we had talked about it at the start, and then we'll go into other stuff since we're already talking about it. But no, it was I had a question because I saw it's on YouTube, and I was trying to find it on Apple too. I was just like, oh, I'll just buy it off iTunes, but I didn't see it on there, and I was curious to see is that a content thing because they're like we can't platform this white racist Canadian.
No, to me, I was just like I built my whole thing on like YouTube. I mean, you're right. If you release it on iTunes, it essentially becomes a way for people to donate to you or whatever.
Right.
But
Yeah.
to me, I wasn't trying to whatever. It was like for me, I released a YouTube special, and that's where I wanted people to watch it. I think I actually might later on release it on SiriusXM and Spotify and iTunes, just so people, if you really want to go listen to it on your phone. But like most people don't do that. I know that a lot of comedians, I mean, people listening might see a lot of comedians being like, "Oh my God, I'm like the #1 album on iTunes," and people all posting that. Like every second comedian had like the #1 album on iTunes.
That's what I was gonna say.
That means
I
you
literally
sold 11.
Exactly. I like
Dude,
a
I'm not
a buddy of mine. Yeah, like my buddy Blake Wexler put out an album. It was like #1. It's like
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
9 people bought it. Honestly, like,
Right.
For you to be the #1 for like a day or a week or whatever, it's legitimately. If 30 people bought it, you're like ahead of Jim
Yeah,
Carrey.
you just have to watch your phone and then take the screenshot at the right moment as it just kind of hits the top and then tumbles back down again.
Yeah, it's such. I don't think any. So I mean, that stuff's all for like show, and I don't do anything that I feel like has a purpose. That doesn't have a purpose.
A little Freudian slip there. I like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. I mean, so the special is called White Immigrant. Great title. And I loved it because it's literally you're breaking all the taboos that nobody's talking about anymore in comedy, which is lovely. There's a whole bit about stereotypes. I thought one of the funnier moments in the special was you're talking about the white slave anthems. Which is just like, well, I can't remember what song it was, but general pop rock,
Caucasian spirituals. No, it's Nickelback.
Right.
Yeah, cock rock.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Nickelback. But I was going to ask you, man. So, I mean, what inspires? When you talk about comedy, what inspires your comedy now? And do you feel, you've been out there, you're touring a lot now. Obviously, COVID set you back, but when you talk about this comedy special and developing comedy
forward.
Do you think? Because everybody's watching YouTube
know.
instead.
I mean, before COVID, I'd like just moved to New York, and I was like working my way through. Like I'm like pretty. I've been doing comedy for a long time, so I got like passed at all the clubs pretty quickly and stuff like that. But it's like I was, just a person that left my whole life behind to move to New York, and now like post COVID, I feel like I built this whole like internet following or whatever. So now I got a whole like COVID probably was like I came out of COVID, better than I went into COVID, so I can't complain, I guess.
No, that is a good point. It's funneling. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, like, dude, you're doing like Liberty shit. Like, I can't imagine. Obviously, I wasn't like stoked about lockdowns, but also, this is where I sort of like argue with people on like both sides about all the COVID stuff, because in a lot of ways, I've always been like a not not follow the mainstream kind of guy or whatever, but also not follow like rules, period. Whereas like it's almost the same way that in a lot of ways people will, let's say like super like liberal people, they're always trying to like say we have to normalize something. So it's like they can't just be like weird. They have to be like, actually it's normal, I'm not weird. You know what I mean? And I feel like that a little bit with like more like right-wing people were kind of got like that with COVID, where they'd be like, we all need to like fight this together. And I'm just like, dude, I'm not doing any of this stuff. It's like, I'm literally like doing comedy shows. I'm going to like bars and clubs. I'm like, I'm not social distancing. I'm just filming all my videos. You're like, yeah, this sucks. But I'm always like, I'm not like a collectivist like that, where it's like, we all need to get together and like fight the power. I'm just like, dude, I'm not like on anyone's team. I'm like, it just feels like to me, if I was like, if I wanted to skip, if I didn't want to go to school, I wouldn't go to school. I wouldn't like try to organize like a walkout. So to me, that's where I was just like, everyone's yelling at me. I'm like, dude, if you don't want to fucking social distance, don't social distance. Like,
no, I mean, if you're right, if you want to organize a walkout at school, you just start a mass shooting, right? That's the quickest and easiest way to start a walkout. Let's all agree.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyways, I was getting yelled at by like everyone during COVID, on both, which I found funny. But
you're man on the street. Well, we'll go everywhere. I'm not even going to try to keep it on topic.
Yeah, whatever.
So you're the man on the street stuff. I was curious to see, like, during this entire transition, because you've been out there talking to people for a while now. You said you have a big internet following now. Do you go to different parts of the city?
Compared to.
Well, true, but I mean, still compared to me. But when you're out there, do people actually recognize you now? Like, are you starting to people like, point, be like, oh, either fuck that guy, or like, oh, I love that guy, or a lot of people still just kind of like, this is another crazy person with a mic on the street in New York City.
No, I do get it. I do get it probably, but not enough not too much that I can't do it anymore. But like, let's say I go film, I would say. Let's say I was filming for like an hour. I bet you every 20 minutes someone would come by and be like, oh, dude, fucking a big fan of the videos, like whatever, something like that. And then sometimes they kind of like hang around and want to watch. And then we go, okay, we just have to kind of leave and go to a different area or whatever. Yeah. But never negative. Only people walking by being like, I think that's, that internet bubble where people think everything's so transgressive and, everyone's fighting or whatever, but in the real world, the only thing I get is people being like, oh, that's that comedian guy from the internet. Like, oh, funny stuff, dude. Like, it's that, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's never, it's once in a while people will, kind of be like, oh, you're saying wild shit. But most people are just like, oh, yeah, you're the guy that made that funny video. I like, my friend sent me that. It was funny. Like, you know what I mean? It's pretty like normal. And that's in New York. Yeah.
Because I was curious to see like how much stuff you end up cutting too. It's like what you use versus what you throw away. If it's
not that much.
Really?
No, I don't cut that much. I legitimately, well, usually I have like a type of question that usually only can get like 2 or 3 responses. So I kind of know like the gag that I'm doing. And then I go start interviewing people. If I interview 3, I kind of get I get the gag. It's like, if I did it on someone else, I would just get it over and over again. You know what I mean? Like most of the things that's kind of, so I usually just have 2 or 3 and then I use them. And then if I'm talking to someone, I'm like, oh, this won't be funny. I usually have like 2 or 3 questions in my head to like bug someone with. So yeah, if I'm asking someone, I'm like, oh, they're not going to be a good person for this one, then I'll ask them something else. So I usually get something out of everyone. You know what I mean? And then if I do 10 things, let's say I interview 10 people for my like little videos or whatever, I probably only cut out like 2 of the 10. Like I probably use like 80% of the people I talk to. I already cut out some of the stuff I said to them, but.
Right. Yeah, exactly. A little creative editing. But I mean, have you found is it easier or harder now especially coming out of COVID? And also, I mean, are people just more, do you think because of social media, because of like the way in which the narratives are rolled out, are people more excited to talk about whatever bullshit they're on now than they've ever been in the past?
So I'm liking, during the pandemic, I was really liking doing street interviews. And right now I'm liking doing sketches better and stand up. And
interesting.
The reason for that is, so I think a lot of what I was kind of messing with at that time was street interviews are all about kind of like conversation judo in the sense that like you there needs to be like a lot of energy for you to now like craft it. Like when people were like really fired up about Trump, like everyone was like, I feel like the most people that you want to mess with are the people that like they think they're like the most right. You know what I mean? Where they're just like, they can't fathom that anyone would even like disagree with them. Right. And I think that for a while in New York, it was very like, can you believe this Trump guy? Like they couldn't imagine that like anyone else like wasn't as hyped up as them. And so you could ask people like really wild stuff, like, should a 2-year-olds transition? And like people wouldn't even think twice about like, maybe I should be careful about this because they think they're so right. So I think nowadays it's a little more even like right now coming out of that Trump era. So if someone was going to go on like a rant about, their opinions on like whatever, non-binary people, whatever, I think they would have a little more of like, listen, I know everyone doesn't agree. So I think people are a little more measured right now, which is like, then I don't want to get into a place where I'm like forcing messing with someone. Like I want it to be someone that's like, have some wild opinions and I'm able to like take that. Whereas the opposite, I noticed that you know, and I remember people go through like different phases, and this is why like, you know, Hollywood comedy got so bad, is because like they were making fun of the wrong thing for so long. But right now, I did see like Danny Mullen he just did one recently where he went to like a NASCAR rally, and he was like pretended to be a Joe Biden guy, and he was like calling everyone racist and stuff like that. And people were really, and it was a bit the other way. Like the people that really hate Biden in that area, like they're fucking hyped up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Almost more hyped up than the people who love him. Like no one's like, oh, I love him so much, right? So I think that it's like I'm a little like switching it up a little bit in terms of like where I see the energy that I want to like make fun of. So that's why I think I like when it's like that. I like doing sketches right now. Like I don't feel like people in New York are as crazy as they were. So anyways, that was a long answer to describe that, but it's always like changing.
It makes perfect sense, though.
Of, yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you a little bit about that in general, insofar as how you know, like when you come up with your bits. So, you know, there was a great, and I noticed a lot now, as you said, it's a little bit more of the sketches, and you had a great, you know, bit about changing your identity for Ukrainians now. And I want to get into that, the altering personalities that now accompany everybody's online social media presence. But when you write sketches, when you write your bits, are you looking at current events and just being like, this strikes me as funny, or this strikes me as crazy? Or does some of it tie into like, I know this is going to get a crazy response, like the craziest people on the internet are going to lose their shit on both sides over this?
Yeah.
You know, or are you actually trying to appeal to the sane people in the middle who just like to laugh?
Yeah, I think that the second one, but it's more like I feel like the best videos are when you get like hyped up on something. So you know, it's not like that. Obviously there is an element where it's like the more culturally relevant, the better we'll do on the internet, but it's more just like I've noticed like a discrepancy. So I think the best ones are where I feel like I'm the most right and the least people think this. You know what I mean? And that's a rule in everything.
Which is opposite of most people who feel the most right, but everybody fucking thinks the same thing.
Exactly, right? So I would never make that. And I've had that a lot of times. I do have that sometimes where, you know, I have a take, but my take is in agreement with like the masses, and I generally don't make that video because it doesn't need to be made. So it's not like I always am contrarian. It's when I'm not, I don't usually make that video. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, every late night host is going to say this. Like if I'm a guy on the internet, like, and it's just going to, SNL is going to have this take.
Trevor Noah comedy, basically, who I just still don't, I don't understand how anybody watches that show, nor SNL, to be frank. I just fucking boggles my mind.
No, exactly. So if I have a video where I'm like, I kind of agree with like what everyone's saying here. It's like, you know, like let's say Britney Spears' thing where everyone's kind of like, everyone's take is that this is kind of crazy that she's has this conservatorship where everyone she can't have access to her money, and this guy's like everyone was kind of like, free Britney, this is bad. And I like kind of do agree. I'm like, this is kind of wild that she has this thing, but I don't feel like I need to say that because it's being said by literally everybody, right? So when I do feel like there is something that it was the stock market thing where I think it was a Warren Buffett thing, but he goes, you know, whenever you feel like there's something like you really believe something and no one else thinks it, that's when you really make money. So it's like, I think that that where I'm like, I think this is so funny, like this point like needs to be made and no one's really made it yet. That's like that's to me, because it's funny, but it also has that like, fuck, that's true. And people are like, it sort of almost changes people's minds. Like, he's right. If at least, you know, ideally. And then there is an element where we're doing internet stuff. And I used to not do this, but I've changed my mind on this. Cause I used to be like, okay, try to run your business and whatever, make your videos. Like a lot of times I would have like 3 ready and I'd be focusing on my shoots and try to make the best ones. And then if I miss a cultural moment, then I miss a cultural moment because it didn't work. But then I've sort of changed my mind in the last 2 months where I go, I think I should run it the opposite, where it's like, if something like huge happens, you go, I think that as a person that's like an internet creator, no, you now have like a obligation to clear your schedule. So like the Will Smith thing. Yeah, like I already had done a video about Will Smith, and I've been talking about this forever. And I had plans for the next 2 days, and I was actually shooting some other stuff, and I was going to release a different video. But then the Will Smith thing happened, and I've been talking about this forever. So it was like, No, I was kind of like, no, this is how you should run your life. Is like when something like this happens, it's just unfortunate, but like cancel your show. This is what happens. Like, do an emergency podcast, do an emergency video. And I literally, at 2 a.m. like went to my studio and like filmed something. And so now I've changed my mind where if something that I like that happens is like a huge cultural moment, I'll change my life around that, vice versa.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got it. It's like, as you said, this is your business anyway. So,
But I
and
did
you,
it
number
for a
one,
while,
and you
I was
want to,
thinking
and you want
the
to
other
beat
way,
people to
yeah.
the punch too. I mean, right? It's like somebody else could beat you to the punch if you don't act on it right away. We're in the meme age, so you might as well get it out there quick and be the first one to get that punchline.
Yeah, and it's also like a freebie too. Like you work so hard to make these videos. You work so hard to like think of how like you design your comedy and your style and how you edit and you put your whole thing together. And then here's like a guarantee that it's gonna get a lot of views. Like take those. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's kind of what I was looking at. It's like
Yeah,
unless you
it's
don't
like-
have anything to say, but like in that particular case, I had a ton to say, and it
Yeah,
was like
you got-
all of the things. I've been making fun of Will Smith for 5 years. He like was in a war essentially. Like I'm on the side of comedy, which I always like the videos where I'm like defending like comedy to some degree, and that there was just like so many components where I'm like obsessed with that stuff. I'm just like, dude, too bad. Like if you have plans, like cancel them.
Yeah, amen. And well, what do you think about that shit? I mean, Chris Rock's up there. He obviously gets hit, and I wasn't planning on going too deep into this, but we're talking about it anyway. But
yeah,
do you
I mean,
think
it's
that
also been
do you-
like talked about a lot.
Right,
at
yeah.
this
So
point.
we don't have to like beat it to death, but in general,
Yeah.
do you think? I mean, this is an overall comedy, right? You're special, you're doing stand up, you're touring. Do you think that people are finally like the worms turning on comedy, where you could just get up and do comedy again, and people are actually going to be in the camp of
I think it
defending
was always.
comedians?
I honestly don't think that it ever wasn't that. But no, I mean, they did a poll where 80% of people, like, or whatever, 60% of people, I think it was, more than 50, thought that Will Smith was like right and Chris Rock was wrong, right?
What?
So, yeah, so people do, but I think that, I think that all these things, it's like my take is more just like people are very, malleable. And, I mean, how many people did you watch their opinion change in COVID on the thing like 5 times? Like so many
of
people I
course.
know were like, the lockdowns are crazy. Actually, this is probably good. So I think, I don't want to say it's like leading questions, but it's like people think what you tell them to think. And it's like, I think that under the right, even people that, unless they're like real, like I'm a fucking Brooklyn like activist with like a wacky hairdo that like my whole thing is trying to get people in trouble. You just like your normal person that kind of is like, well, I think that you shouldn't make fun of things. Like if they show up to a comedy club and you do it right, they won't even notice that they laughed at all the wrong things. Like because they just people just don't want to feel like they're an asshole or something, right? And you kind of can manipulate people's brains and tell them when they're like, how many people have you seen think like completely hypocritical things that like don't mesh on the same thing? Like people have no problem.
It
holding
happens
conflicting opinions.
nonstop. It's 24/7. It's like half the shit I talk about on my show is literally just people being hypocrites in various political environments.
Right. And people have no problem holding the opinion that like Chris Rock shouldn't have done that. Also, comedians should be able to say whatever they want. Like people have no problem like holding those two different opinions. You know what I mean? So I think that it's in comedy clubs. I think that we've always been able to do it. It's just that on the internet, people are living in a different world and they're beholden to different standards. Like, if every comedy club had like 5 whatever, blue-haired college kids that was yelling at you if you laughed.
Designated blue check marks in there to fuck you over.
Yeah, well, people wouldn't want to laugh if they were like, imagine they were like sitting there with their notepad there, like everyone would be probably afraid to laugh, The same reason that sometimes you do like a corporate event and people are there in front of their bosses and they're like, people will like it, but they're like, I don't want to laugh because it's, just kind of this awkward thing. I think, but in a normal comedy club setting, I think people think it's fine. So I think you've always could do comedy. You just get in trouble on the internet afterwards.
Yeah. Well, do you think a lot of people that like your comedy online, like a lot of the videos, right? I'm sure there are people that are laughing their asses off looking at them, watching it. Like, the one that you just did on the Ukraine, which again, great video, hilarious about people adopting this, support Ukraine as their banner. And as you said, personality. And it's, you had a funny little moment where it was like a little, wink to the camera about if you change your personality, then you're never held accountable for any of the bullshit that you're spewing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're that life, but
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was like literal people calling for like going to war. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah,
literal people calling for America to like go to war. And these are like, there was one. It was legitimately they were peace activists, and they were saying that like the United States needs to block the airspace, and it was just like, what kind of fucking bizarro world are we living in? And you know, that's like obviously like a complicated scenario, but it's the same thing. I had this other video that I was trying to make forever, and I think that this has essentially got into like meme culture, where I don't think I would take credit for. I mean, I think even like I think you always see other people. I mean, ideally you just get up to it first. I mean, even Elon Musk, right? Like at first, his first thing was like, we need to get in there and beat Russia, and then 3 days later he tweeted like, I'll believe the whatever they tell me to believe meme. And it was like, you mean like you 2 days ago, right? But it's like,
exactly.
yeah, but whatever. That's the cycle, and he kind of like got hyped up like anyone else, and then 2 days later he was like, oh, I got hyped up, and I do too. I mean,
it does.
It's hard
It
not
doesn't.
to.
It,
yeah.
it sucks
It's
when
not
you're
like
working in the
sometimes I'm making fun of
space.
myself.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, it sucks when you're working in the space where you're trying to document, like, oh, okay, this is fucked up. That's hypocrisy. This is changing narrative, and then you get caught doing it yourself.
I'm not above it. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it happens. I mean, what are you supposed to do? There's
Well,
no
I'll tell you
media
what I
to
think you're
trust
supposed to
anymore,
do.
right?
This is what
Who do you even watch? Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that I think what you're supposed to do is not yell at people. Like, because to me, it's like, yeah, I get it wrong, but I'm also not telling you, like, you need to fucking change or whatever. To me, that's the, like, when you get it wrong and you've yelled at everyone and you go, anyone who doesn't do this is bad. That's like, you know, if you're a person that's saying, this is what I think, like, you're allowed to get it wrong. I don't know. Yeah, you get too hyped up. No, that's so funny.
It's happening. It happens constantly. I mean, people get outraged, like, you know, black rights, gun violence, Ukraine, like every single time something comes out, something leaks early, the media jumps on it, reports it as though it's accurate. And like I said, with Ukraine, I've gotten hit several times. They've had me, and I have no idea which propaganda to believe. So I guess is it more understandable now that people are buying into this? Or do you still think it's something where, you know, culturally we need to embrace skepticism? Or have we lost that as a culture? You know, like our good skeptic attitude?
You have a good like point, and I think I'm always sort of questioning that too. I mean, you know, again, this is like meme culture things where it's kind of like, you know, your two options on the internet, or, you know, I follow the narrative, or I'm always against the narrative, right?
Yeah, right.
And that's one of those things where it's like, I guess it kind of goes back to what I said before, where probably my actual take is it's not that I'm always against the narrative, it's that like, if I'm in a line with the narrative, I don't feel the need to like say it because it's already being said by everyone. So it sort of is like, you only really speak up when you think that everyone's wrong. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So you're kind of like, well, I wasn't always against the narrative. It was just like those, you don't really know when I agree with everybody. But, so it is like one of those things where you go, am I just like always being skeptical? But I don't know. It's more about you remember, I wanted to do this video that was, causes, where are they now? And like, you remember how they used to like rappers, where are they now? And like starting with like Coney 2012. Like,
oh yeah,
Coney?
totally.
And there's just like, you know, 10 causes a year that like everyone needs to drop everything for, right? And I guess, you know, the reply to that is you could be, well, whatever, at least they're trying to help. And you go, well, a lot of times it doesn't help. It makes it worse when you start.
Exactly. It has the opposite effect. And people get millions of dollars bilked out of them. I mean, even Black Lives Matter, you look at what happened with that. And like, you know, the chick who founded it, you know, bought 6 mansions and making deals with Warner Brothers. And then you have people suing them because like George Floyd, I think he's suing them, and all these other organizations are suing them because none of the money went through to any of these programs they promised it was going to go to.
Or worse, it causes like a war. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Race
or
war.
Worse, or worse. There's like, you know, millions of like babies getting bombed.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? And you go, well, at least they're trying to help. It's like, I don't know. Well, like, I think I kind of think that like you look at like patterns and actual effect, not just like intention.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know, Hungary's president or prime minister, right? They just had an election there. And I was shaking my head because over the weekend it was trending. Or this will be last week by the time this episode airs, but it was trending that all these, you know, leftists were going, we gotta support the vote, get out the vote, you know, we gotta oust this guy, you know, Viktor Orban, I think his name was, because he knows Putin, and they refuse to get involved in the Ukrainian war. And I was like, he just doesn't want to be involved. Why do you care? You're in the United States. Why do you give a shit if he provides weapons to, you know, allows a corridor to provide weapons? But it's that kind of like crazy ass mentality. And to your point, Why?
Dude,
So that people hungry could get bombed? What's the point?
Yes, exactly. It's funny, it's like almost like ironic to like use the term, or not ironic, like whatever, overused or whatever to use the term like the pitchfork mob. But it's like,
Yeah.
it honestly is like an episode of South Park. Like every 2 weeks, there's a new like mob like yelling something. It feels like it just like the world feels like a cartoon sometimes.
I mean, it literally does. Or like, I was thinking about this. Is it's kind of like that old show Portlandia, where everybody adopts these certain ways of living, certain standards of living, but it's like expanded everywhere. Like the internet culture has made that everywhere. So it's half cartoon, it's half whatever the topic is du jour, but also just, I think you had a bit about this in your special, the changing topics, or maybe it was in the Ukraine video, but how quickly things change, right? Maybe it was the special where you're talking about gay rights in the United States, right? And how we adopted gay rights and then scream at everybody else as though we've always had them, which of course you hadn't, it's like,
yeah, no, I mean the gay rights is a pretty good one to look at in America, right? Where you go, I mean, you could look at it from both sides. Like the one side is legitimately like Obama was in office and gay people couldn't get married.
Right.
And if you like to look back and think that, it's almost like impossible to believe, like, and then so you go, that's how we've almost like rewritten history. You know what I mean? To be like progressive, and which is insane. It was insane that like America took so long to allow gay marriage, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with him.
But then if you look at the other way, where it's funny, like all that stuff, it was like legitimately before they were like, oh, look at these like racist conservatives or whatever, like that say like, oh, what gay marriage? What's next? Like this and this and this, and like all the stuff that they were afraid of like did happen.
Yeah, like a men can go into little girls' rooms now. We told you guys. I told you.
We're gonna teach anal sex to like kids. Like
right. You can identify. You can identify as a horse and marry a cow.
Yeah, like all of the stuff that they were like, oh, as a joke, like did happen.
But yeah, I'm surprised that you'd think they'd bring that up more. Just like not that they're right all the time, but you'd think they'd just like, look, just one time, put one in the win column for us.
Well, it's a real like give him an inch, take a mile country, I think.
Oh, totally. Well, that's the thing is like, and people have said this before about progressives. Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like conservatives they just want to stop. They're like, all right, let's just slow down a little bit. But then the progressives are like, no, more. You don't think?
I think that I think they would love to think that, but it's like, I think like, look at like conservatives got like a little steam with like people not liking Biden, and how long, like, they're yelling and screaming right now about like, what would be like a perfect example? Like, I don't know, whatever, like boycott Disney, like DeSantis is just saying all the stuff that like they want to hear. I'm doing a bad job of explaining what their best one.
No, I know what you mean though.
Like, here, I'll tell you. Okay, sorry, I did a bad job of explaining that, but they're like saying like right now like gay marriage should be illegal and stuff like that, and whatever, gay people shouldn't be able to have surrogates and like whatever. There's all this stuff. They're very like moralizing to each other right now about this should all be illegal, and I don't think that they're just like, we want to stay the same. I think a lot of traditional conservatives would roll it back like really far if they had the opportunity. Like, I think all of them would be like, Christianity should be taught in schools. Like, I think that a lot of people would. So it is like a tug and pull more than just like, hey, we just want it to stay the same. They just keep losing.
Yeah. No, I think you might be right about that. I mean, they definitely do keep losing. The right is terrible at messaging, terrible at fighting the white, because it's like the right has no ability to get the emotional appeal out there of like a lot of these topics, right? To tell the stories that they want to be told.
The best thing is when they talk about the kids. I feel like every movement loses when they start going for the everyone else's kids.
Oh, so that's what killed like Virginia, and like I think that's going to be the primary drive of the right push this whole election cycle is like take your kids' education back, stop teaching them and I agree with this, like the whole critical race thing of hate each other is just madness. But
it's a powerful message, right? Like, so I feel like Christians probably lost. If you look back in the day, that's probably when they lost, when they like needed to teach Bible stuff to like your kids. You know what I mean? And I bet you if you look in history, I don't know, you probably maybe I'm not like not like the biggest like I talk more shit than I know stuff, but like I bet you if you looked back, you would find most like popular political movements that had like a social component to them lost their support publicly when they started going for kids.
It didn't hurt Hillary Clinton and the Jeffrey Epstein gang. Those
Yeah,
guys are
that's
still
true.
rocking.
But they
I do
weren't,
wonder
like-
that though, right? Because you heard
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that. They're trying to like even like embrace changing, I guess, pedophilia's definition in certain situations, and like the NAMBLA crowd is trying to get in there. Like,
Who's they,
there's all
though?
sorts of weird progressive shit that works its way
Yeah.
in. Like they're trying to not make it so that it's something like you can't define pedophilia as like a perversion, but they're like, oh, it's a medical condition. Like, that's still kiddie fucking. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but it's still fucking children. So I think that's going to hit a wall at some point.
No, I think you're right. I'd say that I bet you that stuff is like, it's kind of a weird thing because that stuff, like, it really probably is only like 10% of people that are like, hey, let's like normalize pedophilia. Like, that's probably a small thing, but
No.
there is something where people don't understand. I think that's what I was trying to like sort of get at with the conservatives. I think that like a lot of conservatives will be like, oh, but they don't actually like think that gay people shouldn't get married, and they're like, no, we do. Whereas like a lot of liberals are like, no, they don't actually think that like pedophiles should be like normalized or whatever. And some like liberals are like, no, we do think that.
Right.
So like there is some like extreme or whatever, but that like hey, we should be teaching about like, there's no question that there's social contagions, and like there's the same. I always think of it with like the trans stuff. You know how there's like probably the best argument, whatever you think about capital punishment, like even if you like morally think there is a reason to murder or not, the real best argument is sometimes they get it wrong for not having it, right?
Exactly.
To me, and it's like, it should just like, that's the end of the conversation, right? And when you talk about whether or not kids can transition, it's to me the same argument. It's like, it's not even a the only real point is sometimes you get it wrong, so that's why you shouldn't. Like,
Yeah.
The same reason why you shouldn't. Like, I actually probably do believe that if you had like dead to rights, guy raped a bunch of kids, like I think that if society was like, we should kill this guy, I don't think it's like, it's like pretty easy to make that moral argument. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you, same with the other one where you go, well, even whether you think it's good or bad or whatever, like what's the negative of like, I guess that's probably like a liberty argument, right? But like,
Yeah, I would say so. Well, pretty much. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with capital punishment, and I think the same thing in regards to trans. I completely share your opinion, and I've read so many stories, like personal stories of people that have been shared of them transitioning early, where a lot of times it's the parents that have been kind of pushing this on them, and now you have an entire psychology or psychiatric society which refuses to go against. Yeah, it's politicized. It's gender affirming care. And Biden just came out and was talking about this. He goes, we push gender affirming care. And naturally, he's got, I forget the name of the Health and Human Services person, but used to be a dude, now is a chick. So of course they're going to say this. But they're saying gender affirming care. And the problem to me is like, look, you can say that's one way of doing things, but if you're saying it's the only way, then you're going to get a lot of fucked up outcomes, and you're going to get a lot of kids that get, these irreversible procedures that are not going to be happy, and then they're going to be suicides. They're going to be trying to transition back. I mean, it's just the outcomes are fucked for kids who are being pressured from all sides now.
Doesn't work out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was kind of I was trying to think of this like yesterday to myself, but I have this like theory that the like, because most people are probably better off just living like the normal life, right? Like kind of these like wacky lives. And I feel like the left gets it wrong, where they sort of say, no, it's not better or worse to like, live some like crazy, let's say like a polyamorous like life where it's not better or worse. And it's like, no,
I think they glorify it. Yeah, I mean, it's glorified. Yeah, just like being a single mom is glorified. And it's like, well, that's not great either.
Perfect.
I mean, if you have to do it, okay, I'll support you, but it's not your fucking ideal.
In most cases, but then the right gets it wrong, where they go, it actually is better for everyone to live the traditional life. Because that, like, I think for me, it's not. I don't live a traditional life, and I know that I'm better off. I know. So I think that depends on your personality, right? But it's like there should be a normal. Like there should be a normal. And then if you like if you're the type of person to step outside of it, like, you know, this kind of idea of like every mother should, you know, what they really need is to have kids and that would make them happy. Like there's kind of like a push from the right on, you know, kind of a traditional, like what a lot of women are missing in their lives is that, right? But I think what it's forgetting again is how many mothers were like essentially like very depressed wine moms, where it's like, you know, just live in the suburbs. Like we're almost like like this. It's like they've glorified this idea that like they were all happy. It's like I know so many people that were just like, you know, this depressed 42-year-old purposeless like woman going to soccer practice, getting on pills because. So there's both, right? Like that person maybe would have been better off if they just never did this shit and didn't move to the suburbs and were like a fucking godless city kid. Who knows, right?
Yeah,
But,
no, totally. Well, it's like society needs to be open to both, right? It's like I agree there should be a norm. And I think that's even where like the liberty perspective gets it wrong, where it's kind of like everything goes, you know, and it's like, you know, okay, with everything goes within reason, but yeah, you need to have some sort of mean standard for operating that we can all kind of work within.
That's
and then if there's outliers, cool, let them be outliers. I don't want to, I don't want to shit on their parade, but as long as it's not infecting my life, that's fine. But to your point, when you push a standard of normalcy where it's punished, right? Yeah, exactly. And it's, you know, a one size fit all, like, you know, using the mom's example. I mean, I wasn't even a stay at home dad at the time, but when COVID first started, when I like lost a lot of my clients getting public relations, man, I tell you, we're just working from home. I just sat around drinking all day, you know, and I can't imagine these moms, you send your kid off to daycare. What are you doing all day? Cleaning? You know, it's like, of course you're going to be depressed. You aren't purposeless until that kid's there. Like your life should not have to revolve around one purpose and that be the norm for most people. And I think that's actually changing after the last couple of years. I think a lot of people got the taste of like, you know what? Being stuck at home all the time isn't that great. You know, it depends on what you're doing, but it's kind of, I think, reset people's minds as far as how they look at stay at home or how they look at different people and the careers and options they choose.
Probably, yeah. Hey, I have a liberty point that I wanted to like see what you thought of.
You've been saving this up?
No, because like it's more that I kind of think that for the most part, I probably like as a, you know, comedian, at least, okay, there's almost like two. There's almost like, what do you think's better for a society? And then what do I think's better for me personally? And I think that what's better for society, I don't always like have an answer to. And I think maybe it depends on the culture and what the country is. Like, it's not just like you're going to turn China into some like libertarian, like it's not the culture, right? So at least that's what I think. But for me, obviously, I'd rather move to the place. Like I want to, you know, build businesses and be an entrepreneur and do comedy and speak for a living. Like obviously the more freedom, the better for my own personal, like what I want to do. But to me, this idea of in America not having health care, right? And I come from Canada where you had it. And I think that I agree with like a 2-tier, not like a 1-tier. I think a 2-tier is better. I think like the way Britain does it's better. But I have like a argument that to me I'd like to pitch to you, because I think that libertarians would be like against public health care. But the reason I think it makes sense even from a, you know, capitalist perspective is it's all about like incentives, right? And everything that, you know, there's the thing that so everyone has like all their different incentives and if you give people like welfare, obviously we're making choices where a percentage of people, this will probably just take them out of the workforce and remove their incentives to do anything. But for some people it won't. And we're always going to be looking at the equilibrium of like, hey, was it 90% of people? Like you try to, you know, you go, hey, we're going to raise minimum wage. This is how many people, it looks like we know, you know, kind of generally, if we raise minimum wage $1, we raise unemployment 1%, and that's kind of what those look like, right? To me,
it's usually inverse of that. Usually, when you raise minimum wage, the unemployment goes up.
That's what I meant. Sorry.
Okay. I think I'd be like, going to help unemployment.
No, I just said the words wrong, but it's 1%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think but I think it's $1 to 1%. I think that's kind of like
I think that's about right. Yeah.
Sorry, but the to me, with healthcare. I think that there is a level of like unsettledness in a country where, you know, for example, that if your like son got like hit by a car, my family could be bankrupt. So the level of like unrest that's caused because of that like tension. And if you give people healthcare and everyone got it, no one would do anything differently, because no one would like be like, oh, I don't have to work now because I have healthcare. Like, no one would really make any different decisions, because that would be like across the board thing. First of all, poor people basically already get it. So it's only like the middle class that doesn't have it anyway. And then if you're rich, you could have a second tier. So to me, there wouldn't be like any changes to people's like incentives. It would just remove a base level of like tension and unrest that a lot of people have. So that's my theory of why it like makes sense from like a market standpoint.
Well, my buddy was floating the idea of kind of like a system, kind of like Medicaid, where it would be, for a certain portion or more or less just kind of like a desperation fallback, I guess.
Yeah.
So a blanket coverage fallback.
Catastrophe insurance.
Right. But the thing is, for me, I'm like, okay, I could accept that. And I probably would prefer that vastly over what we have right now, which is, the combination of public and private, and it's at the astronomical cost. My problem is, I think that when you get into the actual workings of the system, right, we look at how much everything costs and how the cronyism works. That's where I have an issue with any publicly funded healthcare system, because every time the government gets involved with this stuff, the skyrocketing costs just keep going up, right? It's lobbyists. It's in, you get rid of insurance, fine. But then you look at how the government operates, the inefficiencies within that system. And then I look at how in other countries, and this is Canada, this is the UK, if we're banking on it to be this kind of fallback for catastrophic events, those are the worst outcomes for those systems, right? Like in the UK and Canada, if you want to go in and get a doctor's appointment for the sniffles, you can go in. You can usually get that appointment. If you have cancer, you're fucked. Like in the UK, their cancer survival rates are, I think, like 15, 20% lower than the United States, because in the US, you can get those treatments. You may pay your ass out to get them, but I'd rather be alive and poor.
This is the kind of like propaganda that like, this is why I think as a Canadian, I'm like, everyone says that, but I lived there and it's not really true. Like,
maybe you guys, I don't know, maybe maple syrup cures cancer, but in the UK, UK statistically, that's true.
I don't know. I guess I guess I can't argue with statistics, but like, there's no like.
Well, you can argue with anything, so please.
There would be this. Free. Well, but again, so for starters, you like have two tiers. So like if you want to go pay for an expensive so you already have the other
right.
option.
Well, it's kind of like Sweden has that, basically.
Yeah, but they
Sweden
have
has that
Britain,
model.
So it's like that. So it's like I think you're doing I think that causation correlation doesn't make sense, because if you go, they already have the ability to go buy an expensive doctor like they can in America. So it's like if they're choosing not to because they're
okay, so if we're saying there's a two-tiered system, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't be opposed to reading about.
But to be honest, it's like it's like, listen, this is where probably the AOCs like give them an inch, take a mile sort of thing. But you go, it's like, yes, like if you break your ankle and you need to get a cast and it's free, sorry, you have to wait a week to get your cast. But if it's like, but it's free, or no, maybe not that, but you know what I mean? It's like, I broke my nose, for example, and I had to wait like a month to get it like reset or whatever. But you should be able to go pay. But it's like, well, yes, if you're like a billionaire, your time's like, to some degree more valuable, like from a real level. It's like, so, but also it's like, hey, if you're getting a free car, this is what you get. But if you're buying a car, then you can pay however much you want. I don't know.
Yeah, well, no, I get that. And it's also the other component I was going to bring into the thing, and this is the problem, is that we already have the public option out there. So I think eliminating a public option that covers like most of the poor is never going to happen. But, when I look at the market system, we used to have this entire system in place before we had the public services from the government, which was basically that you could get cheap service just because the market wasn't driven up by all the insurance and all the costs of the government involved. But what they had was these private societies like unions, doctors had private groups you joined, and you just pay like a low monthly fee. Basically, it was like having insurance, and you just go to the doctor's independent. Now you can't do it. So, when we talk about the marketplace, I think it would function better as an individualist. Like we're saying, what's better for society versus the individual? For me, it still comes around to the individual's self-interest is going to be what's best for the society. If you add it all together, it's going to keep the cost down and make access easy.
You know what?
But it's already been so perverted that I don't know how we get back to that point.
Right.
So
you make the point you just made is very true. It's very like entangled, and but again, people could make that point for anything. So I get why you like want to stick to your fundamental principles, because you always go, well, we're never going to get that, so whatever, right? So because I get why you stick to your fundamental. And I thought that the argument that you said, I kind of thought that is probably the best argument against it, where you're like, yes, but the thing's going to be a mess, like because government's going to do it bad,
it's going to be
works
horrible.
better. But I guess so. And when I was arguing with myself in my head, I sort of thought that there's that. You are probably right, but I would argue that the cost of the unrest of huge swaths of the population, knowing that like if I get in a car accident, I'm going to go bankrupt and my family won't be able to eat, is like a really, really high cost.
I guess. I mean, we're talking about psychic welfare for people, basically, right? So we're talking about.
But that's but you can put okay, here's the thing: how much are people protesting? Like that is how much unrest do you have in your society? I don't think that is like you can put numbers on some of these things where you go. I'm just
laughing because it is kind of funny to think about, like, George Floyd gets kneed on and dies, and the streets are full of people protesting. But how many people's kids got hit by cars and are like, I can't pay for that. You think if they're going to get out and really mass protest about one or the other, it might be their kids not being able to get fucking cancer treatments.
Well, no, it's not 1-to-1. It's like that all creates the like bubble up energy. It's just like the same thing as like being poor creates people wanting to protest, and then they just need a reason.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna protest if we get socialized medicine, though. Like the other thing is the slippery slope aspect of that. Like we had to look at with COVID and like all this nutty bullshit they're forcing. Dude, I mean that shit was scary. And then I'm worried about, like, okay, we get this universal health care. You already have nutty states like banning big gulps and like taking sugar out of the aisles, and like kids can't have whatever. I look at that and I go, man, I can't trust the government to be telling me what I can and can't do with my health care. Like, say goodbye to smoking. There'll probably be like limits on what alcohol you can buy. Like Scotland did that. So there's all sorts of wacky shit that I'm like, I just can't accept it.
So you're sort of saying like it almost like my thing that I'm saying, it's like, it just doesn't align with like what you see as like American values, where you're just like,
individual choice.
That's like a whole shift in like the way this country like is based on in like your mind. Like, is that kind of like what you would say?
I mean, that's definitely tied into it. And then, like in Canada, I don't know how the system is there as far as, do they make any limits on what you can or can't buy? Are they doing any sugar limitations or any of that stuff? That, I mean, maybe they just don't need to there. Not a country of obese.
I think there'd be more things like, for example, like, there's probably more stricter rules about like you have to wear your seatbelt and stuff like that. And the idea is like, listen, if we're going to pay for it, if you get in a car accident.
Right. Yeah.
Some version of that.
But that's also, we have the seatbelt laws here, and people always use that same argument, right? Well, they'll go to the emergency room, and then the taxpayer will end up footing the bill if they can't pay in general. So there's that. But that kind of stuff too, though. The safety, are they going to completely revamp all the safety requirements for X, Y, and Z and make everything? For me, it's always like, what makes life more expensive and more difficult, right? Less choice, more price, and everything with government involvement always leads down that path. Historically, inevitably. So I understand people wanting that comfort level, but for me, it comes back to, I'd rather see more choice and give people the access to affordable healthcare because it's cheap enough for them to do it, not because the government's going to step in and mandate that it's cost nothing for everybody, which in truth, it cost an astronomical amount. Like California did a study about providing universal healthcare, and they said they couldn't even try to do it here. It was just such an astronomical amount to cover everybody that it wouldn't work.
It should be able to. I know it doesn't make a sense though, because I've heard them say that, and you're like, okay, but there's countries that are the size of your state. Like, why? Right? Yeah. Work?
That's exactly right, and that's where I come back to. It's the cost got driven so up by all these other factors, all the regulations, the insurance, and all that other stuff that it's just like insane.
And well, I'll make another point like that probably would be against my argument is that. It is that like inch mile thing where it's like in Canada now, they're like, they want taxpayers to be like, if I want to go to like a therapist 3 times a week, like that should be like covered by like, it never like ends.
It'll be like the military here paying for people's sex change operations, which is now like a thing.
That is like in Canada. Yeah. So
Dude,
it would
that's
be,
that kind of shit is
yeah.
bonkers, right? You're like, this is a 60,000 loony operation. Or it
Well, you're
is, you know?
legitimately paying for someone's like boob job, like.
Right, exactly. It doesn't make any sense. Like, come on,
But
man. I
if
understand like
if
the
you buy 'em-
basics.
Yeah, if they buy, yeah. So I mean, there is obviously, but in America, like there is more pushback than Canada. So it's like in Canada, like that stuff just gets like bulldozed through. But like in America, it doesn't. It's a little harder to like push wacky stuff through. Like there is a big like right wing pushback in this country more
Yeah.
than most.
Speaking of crazy shit in Canada, by the way, what did you think about Trudeau going after the bank accounts of people that were involved in like trucker protests?
Yeah. Did you see him recently? He went to like the EU or something, and all the other guys were like,
Yeah.
"This guy's a dictator." He was getting just like, they were like just tuning him up. He was getting murked by these other EU guys. I thought that was great.
I know it's like I'm sure he went there. He's expecting to be like, well done, defending liberal democracy, and then he just gets bashed. Oh, I was surprised to see it, but happy to see it.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, like people. That was an example of people protesting about one thing, but really it was just like there's a lot of energy that it's like really sick, and they were doing things where it's legitimate like mind games that fuck people up and still are, where you go, okay, finally COVID's over, you can open your store, you can open your thing, and then like a month later being like jokes, you have to close it down again. It's like, this is the kind of stuff that makes people like go fucking postal. Like when you have people like legitimately like losing their mind, like you go, some guy put his entire life into like building this business or whatever. You take it away, he scrapes by, maybe loses $20,000, maybe finds enough loans. You give him a second chance, and then maybe he scrapes his last like $1,000 again, opens up half capacity. Maybe he's like making it up, and then you like shut it down. Like this is the kind of stuff that makes someone like fucking like
for sure.
like lose their brain.
It's shocking we haven't seen more. I mean, honestly, I expected to see more attacks on politicians. I can't believe there haven't been any.
I
Maybe
think
it
people
speaks
just
to
got
some.
like depressed. I think it went more like internally. Like I think people shut down and like became like a whatever alcoholic, drug addict, and all the ODs and all that stuff.
That's true.
I think you're right. Like why I would expect like I don't know, man. There was a point where like I would fucking just snap if you did that to me too many times. It's like it feels like the world's playing like a prank on you almost. Like you would. So it's like you can't do that to people, and I think
right.
that,
I mean, generational wealth. This like you said, if you have a family restaurant, it's like been around for 3 generations, and now it's fucked because of COVID. And like I know people in LA, they put in $20,000 to build these big outdoor patios, and I think New York had the same thing, right? Like outdoor dining areas on the sidewalk. And LA did the same thing. They're like, all right, we'll shut it down. You open it up, you can't eat. Now it's half capacity. Now we're shutting it down again. And now a lot of the places,
it doesn't make sense either.
They're ripping them up. So you spent 20 grand to stay open, but at what cost? You're limping by, and half of them went out of business anyway.
No, I mean, listen, like I'm lucky I ran an internet business. I mean, I think that one thing that like if you want to like just move away from that, it did separate like greatness, because I do really believe I'm like that. If I look at all the people that I really think are like, talented, where I go, fuck, that guy would have, like, he's this, but if that guy was a banker, he would be the top banker. If this guy was a, whatever, like he worked in fitness, he'd be a top fitness guy. Like there's certain people where you're just like, that guy's like a winner, I'd put my money on them kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
It did like sort of, really separate those, but like at the same time, I'm like, like I moved to America to like do stand-up comedy. Within 3 months, they like shut down stand-up comedy. Then they're like, you can't tour. Then you like, my friends that open up comedy clubs, they like shut down and stuff like that. It was just like, and then at the same time, you have like with the Kyrie Irving thing, you could literally be in the crowd unvaccinated.
That was one of the funniest trolls I've ever seen.
Yeah, and the players, it was just all of it got like so silly. And in Canada, it's all that sort of stuff, like legitimately, like small stores can't be open, but like Walmart can be open.
Oh,
so
that's
like,
the same thing. Yeah, in LA, it's a huge bailout to the biggest stores. And these people complain about capitalism, and they complain about Amazon not paying taxes, and you're like, you shut everything down, but Amazon.
You made those companies triple, and then they'll be like, have the nerve to be like, Jeff Bezos has too much money, and you're just like, yeah, you're like a big reason for that, because you like legitimately had a 2-year plan to essentially eliminate his competition.
Right,
like,
exactly.
It's yeah. What are you, his fucking like bodyguard?
Yeah. I'll tell you what COVID really sucked for is if you were like a hot ass cam girl with a big following, you got so
Yeah.
much competition, right? Like how many, like 300 million other naked chicks on the internet now, just fucking your game up. Feel bad for those
very
chicks.
true.
You
You're
know?
right. So many girls like
It's
enter
like
that arena.
it's like being a pizza place, and then like every single person around you opens up a pizza restaurant.
I mean, we did have that happen though. Me and you like do podcasts and stuff like that.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Oh, same
How many
thing.
people started a podcast? And
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Everybody I know has one now. By the way, so I don't want to go too long with you. We're almost at an hour, man. I appreciate your
okay,
time,
that's
but okay. Well, I would say, so I had two other questions for you. I wanted to see what you were going to do. Like, are you going to do anything more about? Well, we could talk a little bit more about your comedy special if you want. Just if you want to talk about like what into writing
whatever
that.
you want.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to hear
I know,
about that.
I just told you, asked your theories on my healthcare.
Uh,
But
no,
I talk
I-
too much anyway.
No, this is fine. I like this. I like this kind of conversation much better than just like interview anyway. I figured this would be like this, which is good. But no, I want to hear about your comedy special a little bit. And thank you for making fun of Lena Dunham in it. Did you see the cover of her wearing like the Technicolor muumuu on? It was like a Rolling
She's
Stone
a big
cover.
girl now.
Fucking Jesus!
I almost changed that actually. I almost changed that line. I've been changing it in clubs.
Is there someone grosser and more obnoxious you could stub in?
No,
I don't
just
think
someone
that
more
you'll ever find
relevant,
anyone.
because that joke I've been doing for like a couple of years or whatever. and it
Since she was
started
on
to-
Girls.
No, I think since like 2 years ago, not since she was on Girls, but like
Okay.
it's just like I've been doing. That's like that special is like all the stuff I've been doing for the last 2 years, and I've been saying this bit where I've been like Lena Dunham's such a queen or whatever, right? And I was
Yeah,
kind of thinking,
well, you got to give the context of why the joke's so funny is that you're
they
basically.
can tune into the thing. They can tune.
All
in
right, yeah,
YouTube.com
tune into
/
it.
Long comedy.
All right, yeah, there you go. Yeah, don't worry, you have to plug it at the end. I'll put it on the show notes too. Don't worry, we'll
No,
pump it up.
But to me, I was like, is this reference dated? Like it changes so quick. I was like,
No, it's
someone
still
like
relevant.
Chrissy Teigen or something like that's more like in the public eye. You know what I mean? Was
I
like,
love that
fuck,
she
it's
got
like-
canceled. That giant pumpkin head.
Yeah.
She's again obnoxious chick. Like I don't get why people support her. I don't know why they like her. It's like nothing brings nothing of interest to the table, man. But so anyway, so yeah, so yeah, in general, like when you go into writing a comedy special, what's your thought process of that? And then
I don't
on
really
the
write a special. I try to write like 3 or 4 days a week, and I do stand up like 4 nights a week. So I just do a stand up always, and then at some point I'm like I have this hour that's like getting really tight, and I've stopped kind of making changes to it, and then it's time to like record it and put a special.
what's your
out.
churn? Do you try to do like 2 years, 3 years, or just kind of whatever it feels right? You're like, all right, I got enough down.
I feel like I'm not, I've maybe like not been popular for long enough to like say that I have like a specific thing. But this is
Hey,
the
don't
third
worry,
time
baby.
I've
You're
done
not
this.
popular now.
Exactly.
you're on my podcast. How big can you be?
But I've done 3, so this is the third time I've done this, and it was about every 2 years ish.
All right, sweet. Yeah.
But
Well, what's
I don't
next?
know,
I mean,
I might
are-
make
are
some
you-
changes. I knew that I wanted to release it myself, but I feel like I've learned some things from doing this one where like kind of people are paying attention, and I think maybe it'd be like maybe I do it every year and I do a half hour, and then also there's these weird like things that I learned from doing this myself on my channel this time, because I had another special that like wasn't doing good, but now it's at like over 500,000 views like afterwards, and all the clips like went viral like a year later, or, like after releasing it. But one of the things that I didn't realize is 50% of people watched my stand-up special on their phones, and I designed it for people to watch it on their computers and their thing, in the sense of the pacing, the way that I did the audio. Like I did a lot of things kind of that, like it's the old music thing, right? Like you're like, am I making this sound good on earphones, or am I making this sound
Right,
good on
yeah.
a good sound system? And obviously, if you want it to be like bumped on a sound system, where this could be like in a club and it's like bumped, you can compress things way harder because it like hits harder, right? But if you're listening to it on earphones, it kind of sounds like it takes the energy away, right? So there's these things where I made like all these like choices that I kind of made the wrong ones a few times, where I'm like, fuck, if I knew that half the people were watching on this phone, just, I would have been I would have been tighter. Like, you go on wide shots.
Right. Yeah.
but you would have stuck way more tight when people are watching it on their phone. There's just like a lot of choices that I made that I didn't realize that's how it would be like consumed.
Well, it's still doing fine. I did watch it on my phone, but yeah, it's. I mean, it's still over. It's like over 350,000 views already, though, which is good. And it's only been out a couple months, so
good.
yeah,
but, yeah. It's like but how? It's like I'm like I didn't know that, and now I know that people will watch your 45-minute special on their phone.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, it's like,
weird.
a lot of people have it. Well, a lot of people have YouTube on their phone they pay for, where you can just also listen to it like a podcast. So they might be listening to it and not even watching it. Just
I know.
Yeah, exactly. You're walking the dogs listening to it. It's like I know a lot of people on our YouTube, that's how they do it. They listen to it and just walk. So it might be that too.
Me too. I just started doing that. I had a guy on my podcast and he does life hacks, and he said his number one life hacks is sign up for the YouTube Premium. It's better.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's obnoxious. You close your phone and then you can't listen anymore. What a clever way to get people to pay for a product, by the way.
But when I said that because he said this on my podcast, and I did it, and I got 100 comments being like, "Here's how you hack it," and blah, blah, blah,
nice.
Sites that you can get it without paying.
All right, so wait, is the Boys Cast? Do you still have the public Boys Cast and then the Patreon, or is it just Patreon now?
No, I have a Boys Cast. Yeah, I do it on my YouTube channel and iTunes, Spotify, and everything. And then do an episode every week on patreon.com/theboyscast.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because that's a funny one too. All right, last couple questions for you here. Do you have any plans? Like, you do a lot of sketch comedy, you said now, you're getting more into that. I mean, obviously you're a stand-up first and foremost, but do you have anything in mind? Like, would you ever put together a sketch comedy show or anything long form for comedy? Have you thought about that? Either that or like, are you working on any scripts?
I don't think that I would be able to sell to anyone like a sketch comedy show unless I did it on, like, there's a lot of these internet properties that are trying to like open up comedy networks. I don't think I'd want to be the guinea pig for any of those. Like, usually they fail, but if you want, it can be like a big money payout. I don't think I want to take like 3 or 4 months to work on a show that no one's going to see just to make money. But yeah. I might make a movie. That's the one thing that like I've been taking all these meetings. Like, I'm not going to do any like scripts or anything for like networks. I just don't think it like makes sense. I think that I'd have to be in a position where I was closer to like, if I was more what, like, maybe even like where like Andrew Schultz is, where you're like, really like, this is the guy right now. Mm-hmm. I think I'd entertain, because you have a little more cards. Whereas I think it'd be very hard for me to sell anything to networks without it being like an absolute nightmare right now. Just the climate versus, just everything. I think it would be a nightmare all the way through. And I came from making that world, like the television world, but I do have plans to make a independent film. It's, again, just trying to make it make sense. Like, we have the capital and we have the like, financing and the people that want to do it and all that sort of stuff. But again, it's like, it's all like gambles. Like, am I taking 3 months away from my, successful internet business that takes a lot of effort, and to go make a movie that, like, who knows where that ends up, right? So it's all just like, it's got, the pieces have to like really line up for me to step away from my business that requires like a lot of effort, right?
No, that makes sense. All right, last question for you. As I've said, I've renamed my show to Mean Age Daydream, which we'll see if that title works or people think it's just gay as hell. But I'm expecting people to mock it openly. But all right, if you could change one thing right now, right? I'm trying to think like this show. I'm trying to be more positive and less just bitching about shit. If you could change one thing right now, you have godlike powers to make the world a better place, what would it be? Put you on the spot and see what you could come up with. I didn't want to tell you in advance. So I want to see what you could come up with.
Okay, let me see. So if you basically like, I'm like a politician and I could make like one.
You could be like I said, godlike powers. Doesn't have to be politics. You can change the world in one way. What one way would you change
the borders to get this country back? No.
Build the wall instantly. Build the wall of immigrant corpses instantly.
Yeah. I mean, if I was going to make the world better, I'm thinking of things that I would like.
That's fine. Hey, man, it's your daydream.
It would be good if, there was like a big, like one big comedy network that didn't have like a political affiliation one way or the other. And I think that was the biggest thing that like used to happen and that it's not. And it's like, Daily Wire is like a right wing, and there's all these like right wing places that would like want to, get into comedy, but it's like, that'd be like, to me, that'd be the same as like if the Young Turks had a comedy network. Like to me, that's
Yeah,
not like
exactly.
that's
You're
not
you're
positive.
basically on the blue collar comedy tour or whatever at that point, right?
Yeah,
You're just-
worse. It's the blue collars, because the blue collar comedy tour wasn't telling you who to vote for. Right?
Yeah, true.
So if anything, they were like, they were keeping their political views. Like obviously, I'm gonna guess that Jeff Foxworthy probably is conservative, but like you didn't know
Probably.
that. You know what I mean? So I think that would
The
be,
mustache gives it away. Nobody has a mustache.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know. A lot of gay guys probably have that mustache too. Old Jeffy, what's he into?
Yeah. So I would love if there was like a real like entertainment company with that like didn't have that was went back to being in the closet about what their political affiliation was.
That would be fucking awesome, man. I completely endorse that. I was surprised that there hasn't been some network pop up for news, for entertainment, just in general, that's called, the Nothing Network. How about that?
The No Politics Network.
TNN, the Nothing Network. We have no biases. We have no nothing. Here you go. Here's news straight as we can tell it. Here's comedy without political bias on both sides. It would be refreshing.
I think where it comes from, it's like where it comes from in my mind, and this probably you're up your alley, but like it's gonna have to come from the Central Land, like not that one specifically, but like if there's like a new Netflix style thing that doesn't have it's gonna come probably from because really those places have to be political because of who lives in those places, but also because of who they have to appease and actors and stuff. But if there's no centralized power, there's nothing to like lobby for appeasement, right?
Yeah. Well, what's sad is YouTube honestly would have been right the network that everybody could go to get anything and everything, and yet politically poisoned, man.
They're still the best one, probably, but
Dude,
maybe iTunes is the best one in terms of not getting kicked off. But
iTunes is pretty good. YouTube though, we get zapped all the time. I have to stream the.
No, I agree. Yeah,
like we got demonetized. We got demonetized before it was cool. I don't even know what we got demonetized for. We've been demonetized for like 6 years, and yet we don't have anything on. And now we get pulled all the time. We have a ban right now. Right now, we have a ban on our. It's fucking bullshit.
Well, no, everyone. I just mean out of the big tech ones. Like, I'll put videos on like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and all those. Like, and YouTube will be the only one that. Like, I'm just saying from the 4 big ones or 5 big ones, TikTok included, YouTube, I'll have a video that gets pulled off or warnings on everything except for YouTube. Not to say that I don't get content pulled off of YouTube. I just think they're the best out of those ones. But yeah, I think that all the other, everyone uses Rumble and those ones or whatever. But my argument about those is none of those have been able to like make it work in the sense that you go, they go, why is no one on Rumble? I think this is like, especially for comedians and entertainers and content creators, the minute Rumble knows how to make one person popular, everyone will be over. Like if you hear, oh, this dude like popped off on Rumble, actually he's selling tickets. Like the minute one person is a celebrity from Rumble or a celebrity from Minds or whatever the things are, like you go, I'm not on YouTube because I like love their interface. You're on YouTube because it helps you sell tickets to comedy shows because that's my business. Like
exactly.
I'm not on Twitter because I love to argue. I'm on Twitter because I make jokes because that's what I do for a living and I want people to come to my comedy shows, right? So I'm not the minute you hear one person that they go, yo, that guy's selling out fucking comedy clubs because of his Rumble videos, we'll all be on there tomorrow.
Yeah, totally. That's what I thought was kind of going to happen with the conservatives. Like we spent a lot of time on Parler trying to build that up, and then it got pulled from all the all the app stores. We spent his time on it.
But Parler, it was the same people that you already had. Like again, like Dinesh D'Souza has a big Parler, but he also had a big Twitter. Like it wasn't
right. Yeah.
Like there's no fan acquisition on these apps. There's only like getting your old fans back all you can do is get 5% of your old fans there.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
You're not making new ones.
You nailed it, man. And also the platforms push the biggest names up anyway, because they want people like, look, we got these big names. You're like, all right, so how am I'm not going to become a big name because you're already promoting the big names. The air is already taken out of the room.
There's no like algorithmic component where you're getting like, and that's like social media platforms get popular because the like algorithmic component rewards creators. And that's why creators want to go there. And they've yet to figure out how to do that. Like, I'm not looking for like another place to just house my content. Like there's, of course, there's 10 trillion. Like if anything, even if you go, oh, you're banned from everything, it's like, you're not worse off just making dummy YouTube accounts that keep getting shut down than you know what I mean? If there's no fan acquisition, like you're off, there's no value proposition for like the creator. in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Ryan, this has been awesome. Where can people find you? Of course, RyanLongComedy.com. That's a primary destination. But tell everybody, where should they come to find you? Where can you get this acquisition of fans?
The boys, I mean, Lou Spears, he told me, he goes, remember, all platforms matter. So I just try to be on all of them, right? But I just released the same thing everywhere and whatever. Ryan Long Comedy on all platforms, and The Boys Cast with Ryan Long's my podcast. Yeah, I would love it, dude. If there's a new, like, decentralized, like, free speech style platform that, like, literally is, I mean, you know, I'll go see, you go, that's why they're offering money. Like, I'll get a lot of emails, them being like, hey, we'll offer you 20 grand or whatever if you come over here. It's like, because you're helping them. So, like, you have to be like, what are you offering me? And again, money. It's the same thing about that. It's like, yeah, I could go make a TV show with someone and blah, blah. Like, what am I being offered? Are more people going to come to my comedy shows? Like, no, but we can give you money. And it's like, well, I don't need money. I want, like, to people to see my videos.
You hear that, guys? Do not subscribe to Ryan Long's Patreon. He does not need your filthy money.
But, well, come to my Patreon and watch my videos that I put there. But you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not doing this to just be like, let me milk my fucking audience. Like, how much money can I milk out of this? I want people to come to my shows and watch my videos.
Right.
And, you know.
No, it's okay. Well, have you on Odyssey? Have you heard of that platform?
Yeah.
That was not
that
bad.
Seems like a
it's
good
decentralized.
Idea to just,
yeah.
Yeah, it also seems like a good idea to just, like, house all your content. Like, you know, because all you do is like, hey, why don't I just mirror my channel, and then if anything happens, at least it's all there.
It's like the Ark, man. You know, it's like for the end of days time. That's where everybody's going to be on Odyssey after everything else gets nuked and pulled.
Yeah, so there's something cool about that, right?
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Well, any last words for the people, the population out here of Mean Age Daydream?
It was good to hang again a couple years later. Like, you had right when I moved here, so it was cool.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, like I said, hit me up when you're out in LA. I'd love to come see a show, grab a drink, whatever your availability is.
Yeah, dude. Okay, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Yeah. All right, thanks, man.
Okay.